The air in the changing room smelled of concrete and testosterone, and the particular breed of arrogance that comes from men who've never truly been tested. Master Chief Alexandra Kane stood perfectly still as Major Garrett Brennan's hands closed around her throat. His grip was textbook, thumbs positioned on the trachea, fingers finding the carotid arteries with the practiced precision of a man who'd done this before. 40 pounds of pressure, maybe 45, enough to restrict airflow, enough to make a point. Alex's heart rate didn't change. 62 beats per minute, the same rhythm it had maintained through 21 years of combat operations, through firefights in Fallujah and ambushes in the Hindu Kush. Through the night, her husband's casket came home draped in a flag she'd spent 20 years defending. 62, steady as a metronome. Her eyes flickered once to the security camera mounted in the northeast corner. Red light blinking, Sony HDC 2400. Recording in 1080p to the central server. Timestamp running, evidence accumulating. She looked back at Brennan. "Major," she said. Her voice was calm, level, almost gentle. "Cameras recording, Article 128, aggravated assault. You sure about this?" Brennan's face was 6 inches from hers. She could smell the whiskey on his breath, see the bloodshot capillaries in his eyes, read the 20 different kinds of rage written in the tight lines around his mouth. "I don't care about cameras," he snarled. "I care about useless relics like you taking up space real operators could use." His fingers tightened. Alex's expression didn't change. Behind Brennan, Captain Ryan Morrison shifted his weight, uncomfortable, uncertain. His eyes kept darting to the camera, to Alex's face, to the door, looking for an exit that didn't exist. Sergeant Luis Diaz stood with his arms crossed, watching, waiting to see how this would end. None of them understood what was about to happen. How could they? They didn't know that the woman Brennan was choking had killed 187 enemy combatants across 4 continents, that her operational call sign was Reaper, that the last man who had put his hands on her throat had died 3 seconds later with a broken larynx in a compound outside Mosul. They didn't know, but they were about to learn. Let's stop right here, because what happened in the next 2.3 seconds would shatter everything Major Garrett. Brennan thought he knew about war, about skill, about the quiet woman he just made the worst mistake of his military career attacking. But to understand that moment, you need to understand how it began. 48 hours earlier, forward operating base Ironside squatted in the Mojave Desert like a scar on the landscape, 15 miles north of 29 Palms. Population 847. A mix of Army, Rangers, Navy advisors, civilian contractors, and the particular species of warrior who volunteered for the jobs nobody else wanted. The temperature at West 100 hours was already kissing 100 degrees. The unmarked Humvee that brought Alexandra Kane to the main gate was an M152 armored variant. Tan paint faded to the color of old bone. Desert dust thick enough to write your name in. The driver was a specialist who looked about 19 and didn't ask questions. Smart kid, Alex sat in the back with her duffel bag and watched the landscape roll past. Scrub brush, ganbain, the occasional Joshua tree standing sentinel against the sky so blue it hurt to look at. She'd seen worse deployments. The gate guard checked her ID 3 times, scanned it twice, made a phone call, finally waved them through with the expression of a man who'd just been told his job was above his pay grade. Also smart, the Humvee dropped her at the admin building, white concrete block. Solar panels on the roof, American flag hanging limp in the still morning air. "Master Chief," the driver was looking at her in the rearview mirror. "You need help with your gear." "I got it, specialist, thank you." She stepped out into the heat, shouldered the duffel, walked toward the building with the same economical stride she'd used for 23 years. Not fast, not slow, just efficient. The kind of movement that covered ground without wasting energy. A lessons learned from carrying 100-pound rucks through mountains where every extra step could kill you. The duffel weighed 42 pounds. She knew because she'd weighed it that morning. She weighed everything, measured everything, calculated everything. It was the only way to stay alive in a profession where carelessness was measured in body bags. Inside the admin building was 15 degrees cooler and smelled of paper and floor wax and burnt coffee. The duty sergeant looked up from his computer, saw her rank, stood up fast enough that his chair rolled backward. Master Chief, General Mitchell's expecting you, second floor. Last door on the right. Thank you, Sergeant. She took the stairs. Habit. Always take the stairs. Know your exits. Know your escape routes. Never trap yourself in an elevator if you can help it. The second floor hallway was lined with photographs, combat deployments, unit ceremonies, faces young and old staring out from behind glass. Some of them dead now, some of them retired, some of them still out there, still fighting, still bleeding for a country that barely remembered their names. Alex didn't look at the photos. She'd been in enough of them. General Robert Mitchell's office was at the end of the hall, door open, the man himself sitting behind a desk covered in reports and maps and the accumulated debris of command. He looked up when she knocked. Master Chief Kane, come in, close the door. She did, stood at attention. Mitchell was 58, Gulf War veteran, the kind of officer who'd earned his stars the hard way, leading from the front when leading from the front could get you killed. He had a face like weathered leather and eyes that had seen too much. Those eyes were studying her now. At ease, Master Chief. Take a seat. She sat, spine straight, hands folded in her lap, the picture of military bearing. Mitchell leaned back in his chair. It creaked under his weight. Your file, he said, is the thinnest piece of bullshit I've seen in 37 years of service. Alex said nothing. Technical advisor, communications systems integration. He snorted. That's the cover story they gave you. That's my assignment, sir. Horse shit. I know DevGru when I see it, Master Chief. Hell, I worked with your people in 91. Desert Storm. Best damn operators I ever saw. A pause. The air conditioning hummed. Outside, someone was shouting cadence, the rhythmic sound of soldiers running. What's the real mission? Mitchell asked. Alex met his eyes, made a decision. This man had earned the truth. Penetration testing, sir. Base security. I find the holes, I report them. 18 months. Then I'm done. For good this time. Mitchell nodded slowly. Your choice to come back. No, sir. Title 10 Special Directive. JSOC requested. I accepted. Why, you'd earned your retirement. Clean separation. Why come back? Alex's jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly, but Mitchell saw it. My daughter, sir, Sarah, she's at West Point, plebe year. I took this assignment because it's stateside. No deployments, no combat. I can be a phone call away if she needs me. 18 months, then I'm out. I'm going to teach civilians how to scuba dive, somewhere quiet and never wear a uniform again. Mitchell's expression softened, just a fraction. Your husband, Jake Kane, I read about that, Helmand Province. 2020, I'm sorry. Thank you, sir. He was a good officer. He was the best man I ever knew. The silence that followed held weight, the kind of weight that comes from understanding, from shared loss, from the knowledge that some conversations don't need more words. Finally, Mitchell pulled out a folder, slid it across the desk. Your quarters, your credentials, your cover stays intact. As far as anyone here knows, you're exactly what your file says. A Master Chief doing technical work. Nobody needs to know different. Understood, sir. One more thing, Kane. Sir, this is an Army base, Rangers mostly, good men, but young, peacetime arrogant. Some of them might not take kindly to a Navy advisor, especially one who outranks them and won't tell them why. I can handle Army Rangers, sir. I've worked with worse. Mitchell almost smiled. I bet you have. Dismissed, Master Chief? She stood, saluted, turned to leave. Kane? She stopped, looked back. Welcome home. Her quarters were standard, 8 by 10 feet, metal bunk, metal desk, metal locker, a window that looked out over the training grounds. Spartan, functional, exactly what she'd expected. She dropped her duffel on the bunk and began to unpack. Everything in its place, everything accounted for. 30 years of military life had taught her that chaos was the enemy. Order was survival. First the uniforms, folded with creases sharp enough to cut, stacked in the locker with mathematical precision. Then the personal items. These she handled more carefully. The M40A5 cleaning kit came out of its protective case like a holy relic. Macmillan stock, Schmidt and Bender scope, the tools to maintain the rifle that had served her for 8 years and over 100 missions. She set it on the desk, ran her fingers over the gun oil and bore brushes. The ritual of maintenance, the meditation of a sniper. Next, the photograph. Jake Kane smiled at her from behind the glass. 35 years old in the picture. Dress blues. That crooked grin that had made her fall in love with him during Hell Week when they were both too exhausted to remember their own names. She placed the frame on the desk, centered it, exact. "Hey, baby," she whispered. "Made it, 18 months. Then I'm with Sarah full-time. I promise." The dog tags came next. His name, his service number, his blood type. The metal cool and smooth under her fingers. She hung them from the bedpost, where she could see them, where they could watch over her. The last item was the challenge coin. Devgru Trident, Red Squadron, 2003 to 2021. The years of her life that had mattered most and cost the most. The years that had forged her into something harder than steel and more fragile than glass. She set it next to Jake's photo. Then she opened her notebook. Leather, worn, the cover soft from being carried in cargo pockets through 42 countries. She opened it to the inside cover, 187 small notches. Cut into the leather with a K-bar knife, one for each confirmed kill. 187 human beings who'd woken up on their last morning not knowing that today was the day Alexandra Kane would put a bullet through their center mass from 800 meters away. She didn't feel guilt about the notches. She felt responsibility. Each one had been necessary. Each one had saved American lives. Each one had been documented, verified, and approved through the chain of command. But she remembered them. Every single one. The notebook stayed open on the desk, a reminder, a record, a warning to herself that violence was easy and forgetting was dangerous. She sat on the bunk, checked her watch. 08:20 hours. Time to start work. Time to become the person the file claimed she was. Technical advisor, nobody special, just another sailor punching a clock. The memory came without warning. It always did. March 21st, 2003. Operation Iraqi Freedom. Day 1. Alex was 22 years old, barely 2 years out of buds, fresh off selection for DevGru. The ink on her trident still wet enough to smudge. She was lying in the dirt of Southern Iraq rifle pressed into her shoulder, watching a column of Marine Levies roll toward Basra through a scope that cost more than her annual salary. Beside her, Gunnery Sergeant Frank Hayes was a mountain of calm, 42 years old, 23 years in service. A legend who'd earned his stripes in Grenada and his scars in a dozen conflicts most people would never hear about. "Wind's picking up," Hayes said. His voice was gravel and whiskey and absolute confidence. 4 knots, east-southeast. Alex checked her data. Confirmed. Temperature 103, humidity 18%, density altitude 4,200 feet. Good. What's that do to your dope? 0.3 mil elevation, 0.2 windage right. Show me. She adjusted her scope, clicked the turrets. The mechanical precision of it centered her. Mathematics didn't lie. Physics didn't care about fear. 200 meters to their left, Army Colonel Marcus Brennan was setting up his radio. Forward air controller. 42 years old. Combat veteran with a chest full of ribbons and a reputation for getting the job done. He looked over, gave them a thumbs up. Hayes nodded back. "Good man," Hayes muttered. "Got a kid, teenager. Shows me photos every chance he gets. Proud dad." Alex said nothing. She was watching the ridgeline, watching for threats, watching for the thing that would go wrong, because something always went wrong. The Marines rolled closer. Then the world exploded. RPGs, mortars, the distinctive crack of AK-47s. The Iraqi Republican Guard counterattack coming from positions they'd sworn were abandoned. Hayes was on the radio instantly. Contact grid NK-847392, enemy forces platoon strength. Alex was already firing. Center mass, breathe, squeeze. The M40A3 barked. 760 meters downrange, an Iraqi soldier dropped. Breathe, acquire, fire. 187 kills would start here. But first there would be loss. The mortar round landed 15 feet from Colonel Brennan. The concussion wave was visible, a ripple in the air, then dust and smoke, and the high-pitched ringing that meant someone's world had just ended. "Brennan's down!" Hayes was moving, rifle slung, running toward the blast crater. Alex was right behind him. Combat autopilot. Don't think, react. The colonel was on his back, eyes wide, mouth open, right leg twisted at an angle that meant the femur was gone. Blood pulsing, arterial. Bad, very bad. Alex dropped to her knees, pulled her tourniquet. "Sir, stay with me." His eyes found hers, focused. He was still here, still present. "Gonna die, aren't I?" His voice was surprisingly calm. "Not if I have anything to say about it, sir." She was wrapping the tourniquet, pulling it tight. Tighter. The blood flow slowed but didn't stop. Hayes was on the radio. Casevac grid NK847392, Cat Alpha, I repeat, Cat Alpha. "Listen," Brennan grabbed Alex's hand. His grip was weak, getting weaker. "My son, Garrett, he's 17. You tell him his old man died doing his job. You tell him I was proud of him." "You're going to tell him yourself, sir." "No." He smiled, actually smiled. "No, I'm not. But you are. You're going to live through this. I can see it. You got that look, the survivor's look." The medevac bird was coming. Black Hawk, rotors beating the air, dust everywhere. "Help me move him." Hayes grabbed at Brennan's shoulders. Alex took his legs. They ran in a crouch toward the landing zone. 200 meters. Enemy fire snapping overhead. Hayes firing his M4 one-handed while dragging a dying man. Alex trying not to think about the blood soaking through her gloves. They made it. Loaded him on board. The crew chief was already working. 5 lines? Pressure bandages. The controlled chaos of combat medicine. Alex held Brennan's hand. "Stay with me, sir. Stay with me." His eyes locked on hers one last time. 17, he whispered. "Tell Garrett." "Tell him?" Then nothing. The crew chief looked at Alex, shook his head. The Black Hawk lifted off. Alex stood in the rotor wash, covered in another man's blood, and watched it go. Hayes walked up beside her, put a hand on her shoulder. "You did good, Kane. Everything right. Sometimes it's not enough." His son will get a letter. Standard KIA notification. Died in combat operations. They don't put in the details. They never do. Alex looked down at her hands, at the blood drying brown in the desert heat. "I need to wash this off. Later. Right now we have Marines who need our overwatch." He was right. The mission continued. It always did. But that night in her bunk, Alex had carved the first notch in her notebook. Not for an enemy kill, for a promise she couldn't keep. The chow hall at Phobe Ironside was institutional cafeteria architecture at its finest. Long tables, plastic chairs, fluorescent lights that turned everyone's skin the color of old dough. The smell of overcooked eggs and burned coffee and industrial cleaning solution. Alex walked through the serving line. Oatmeal, black coffee, a banana, 37 grams of protein, calculated hydration. The diet of someone who treated their body like a weapon that needed proper maintenance. She found an empty table in the corner. Sat with her back to the wall. Old habit. Always watch the exits. Always have an escape route. The room was maybe half full. Early morning shift. The soldiers who had actual jobs to do instead of sleeping in until formation. She ate methodically. Oatmeal, sip of coffee, bite of banana. Her eyes tracked the room in a constant scan. Threat assessment. Also habit. The laughter from the center table was loud enough to carry. 3 men. Army uniforms. Rank and bearing that said experienced non-coms who'd earned their positions the hard way. The one in the middle was talking. Gesturing with his hands. The body language of a natural leader. Someone who commanded respect without asking for it. Major Garrett Brennan. Alex recognized him from the roster she'd reviewed yesterday. 37 years old. Army Ranger. Multiple combat deployments. 147 confirmed kills as a designated marksman. Bronze Star with valor. The kind of warrior who'd seen the elephant and come back with scars to prove it. He looked like his father. Same jawline, same nose, same intense eyes that missed nothing. The recognition hit Alex like a gut punch. She looked down at her oatmeal, took a breath, Centered herself. He didn't know. Couldn't know. Standard KIA letters didn't include those details. Just the basics. Died in service to his country. Honorable death. Be proud. They never mentioned the 22-year-old SEAL who'd held his hand, who'd promised to tell him his father's last words, who'd failed. Alex finished her breakfast, cleaned her tray, walked out without looking back. Behind her, Brennan's laughter echoed off the walls. He had no idea that the woman who'd just left the room had tried to save his father's life 20 years ago. Not yet. The next 3 days followed a pattern. 0430 wake, physical training, 12 miles with a 65-pound ruck, age 42, still keeping pace with soldiers half her age. 0700 breakfast, alone, always alone. 800, 1700 work, real work, penetrating the base network security, finding vulnerabilities, documenting shyness. The job JSOC had actually sent her to do. She found 3 critical flaws in the first week. Firewall misconfiguration that would let a teenager with basic hacking skills access classified material. Radio encryption protocol that was 2 generations out of date. Physical security gaps you could drive a truck through. She documented everything, filed reports, sent them up the chain. Nobody thanked her. That was fine. She wasn't here for thanks. 1800 maintenance, weapons, gear, uniforms. The ritual that kept her centered. 2200 sleep, 4 hours if she was lucky, 6 if the dream stayed away. They rarely stayed away. And every day she saw Brennan, training his men on the range, leading PT runs, in the chow hall, in the admin building, everywhere. He never looked at her. Why would he? She was just another sailor in a sea of uniforms. Nobody special, nobody worth noticing. That changed on day 4. The range was hot, 108 degrees, the kind of heat that made the air shimmer and turned rifles into branding irons if you touched the wrong part. Alex was standing behind the firing line observing. Part of her job. Security assessment included training protocols, understanding how the base ran its qualification courses. 50 meters downrange, Brennan was running his squad through close quarters marksmanship, M4 carbines, multiple targets, stress fire. He was good, very good. Smooth transitions, excellent muzzle discipline. The fluid confidence of someone who'd done this 10,000 times in conditions where mistakes meant body bags. His squad was less impressive, young, enthusiastic, but sloppy. Finger discipline was garbage. Spacing was wrong. They were getting by on youth and aggression instead of skill. Brennan saw it too. Cease fire, unload, and show clear. The soldiers complied. Magazines out, bolts back, chamber checks. Morrison, what did you do wrong? Captain Ryan Morrison looked confused. Sir, I got all my targets. You crossed Patterson's line of fire twice. Do that in Fallujah and someone's going home in a box. Diaz. Yes, sir. Your magazine changes took 4 seconds. Should take 2. Practice until it's muscle memory. Yes, sir. Brennan spotted Alex. His eyes narrowed. He walked over, stopped 3 feet away, close enough to be aggressive without being overtly hostile. Help you with something, Master Chief. Alex met his gaze. Level, professional. Just observing, sir. Part of my duties. Your duties, right. He looked her up and down, taking measure, making judgments. You shoot when required. That's not an answer. Yes, sir. I shoot. What's your qualification? Expert. Something flickered in his eyes, doubt, skepticism, the look of a man who'd just been told something he didn't quite believe. Expert, he repeated. Navy expert or real expert? The qualification standards are the same across services, sir. Standards, he snorted. Sure they are. Tell you what, Master Chief, why don't you show us this expertise, right now? It wasn't a request, Alex considered. She could refuse. Walk away, keep her head down, do her job, stay invisible. But something in Brennan's tone made her pause. That condescension, that certainty that she was less than, that she didn't belong. She'd heard that tone before. In buds, in selection, in 100 different situations where men had looked at her and seen weakness instead of strength. She'd proven them wrong every single time. Yes, sir, she said. I'd be happy to demonstrate. Brennan smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Outstanding. Morrison, give the Master Chief your weapon. Morrison handed over his M4. Alex checked it with the unconscious efficiency of someone who'd handled rifles since before most of these soldiers were born. Magazine, chamber, safety, sights, good enough. What's the evolution, sir? 50-meter line, 5 targets. Mozambique drill, 10 seconds. Think you can handle that? Mozambique drill, 2 shots center mass, 1 shot head, 5 targets meant 15 rounds total in 10 seconds. Yes, sir. She stepped to the line. Magazine seated. Chamber A round. Safety off. Brennan stood behind her. On my mark. 3, 2, 1, go. Alex moved. Target 1, 2 center mass, 1 head, smooth transition. Target 2, 2 center mass, 1 head, breath control, trigger discipline. Target 3, 4, the rhythm of it. The mechanical precision, the things she'd done so many times it wasn't even conscious thought anymore. The rifle went empty. Alex dropped the magazine. Reached for the spare on Morrison's kit. Tactical reload, smooth, fast. Seated the magazine. Racked the bolt. Ready. Total time, said 8.3 seconds. She safed the weapon, turned to Brennan. Handed the rifle back to Morrison. Satisfied, sir? Brennan was staring downrange. Every target had 2 holes in the chest. 1 in the head. Perfect groupings. No misses. Lucky, he said finally. Yes, sir. Very lucky. She walked away. Behind her, Morrison was whispering to Diaz. Did you see that 8 seconds? I've never seen anyone that fast. Tank said it was luck. That wasn't luck, Mouth. That was something else. Alex did not hear the rest. She was already gone. Back to her work. Back to being invisible. But the seed had been planted. Brennan had seen her now, and he didn't like what he saw. Day 7 was February 26th, the anniversary. 20 years since Operation Iraqi Freedom. 20 years since Colonel Marcus Brennan had died in Alex's arms. 20 years since she'd made a promise to a dying man. She marked the day in her quarters, alone with Jake's photo and her notebook and the weight of memory that never got lighter. I tried, she whispered to the ghosts. I did everything right. It wasn't enough. The ghosts didn't answer. They never did. That afternoon, someone dumped coffee on her laptop. Alex had been at her workstation in the Technical Services Building. 3 days of security reports, vulnerability assessments, detailed recommendations for improving base defense protocols, all of it on that laptop. She'd gone to the restroom. 2 minutes, maybe 3. When she came back, the keyboard was dripping, brown liquid pooling on the desk, the screen flickering, dying. Shit, she grabbed paper towels, tried to soak up the damage, but it was too late. The laptop was dead. Specialist at the next desk looked over. Oh man, that sucks. What happened? Someone knocked over a coffee. You see who? No. That's really bad timing. Alex looked at him, read the expression, the careful neutrality, the decision not to get involved. He knew something, but he wasn't going to say. Yeah, Alex said. Bad timing. She spent that night rewriting 3 days of reports from memory. Every detail, every finding, every recommendation. 0300 hours she was still typing. There was a knock. Alex opened the door. Command Sergeant Major Frank Hayes stood in the hallway, 62 years old. A prosthetic left leg hidden under his BDUs. Gunny, Alex said, surprised. It's 0300. Saw your light on. Figured you were pulling an all-nighter. He held up 2 cups of coffee. Brought reinforcements. She let him in. They sat at her desk, drank in companionable silence. Finally, Hayes spoke. Someone's giving you grief. It's nothing I can't handle. Alex, I trained you 22 years ago. I know when you're handling something and when something's handling you. Which is it? She sipped her coffee, considered how much to say. Laptop got destroyed today. 3 days of work. I'm rebuilding it. Accident. No. You know who? Suspicions. No proof. Hayes nodded slowly. The Ranger Major. Brennan. How'd you, because I've been watching. He's got it in for you. Don't know why. But I know the type. Needs someone to blame. Someone to punch down on. makes him feel bigger. I can handle it, Gunny. I know you can. You're the finest warrior I ever trained, but you don't have to handle it alone. That's what the old guys like me are for. Alex looked at him. This man who taught her how to swim with 80 pounds of gear, how to shoot in winds that would make a normal person miss by feet, how to survive when surviving seemed impossible. Thank you, Gunny. Don't thank me. Just don't let these kids break you. You've earned better than that. After he left, Alex went back to her reports, but his words stayed with her. You've earned better than that. Had she? Or was this just what the end looked like for warriors who stayed too long, outlived their usefulness, became relics that younger men needed to tear down to prove their own worth? She didn't know. She just kept typing. The changing room at FO Ironside wasn't much to look at. 20 feet by 15, concrete block walls painted the color of institutional green. 4 shower stalls, a row of lockers, 1 security camera mounted in the northeast corner. Red light blinking, recording, always recording. Alex checked her watch, 16:45 hours, late afternoon. Most people were at evening chow. The changing room should be empty. She needed to clean up after a 12-mile ruck. Change from PT gear to duty uniform. Get back to work. Simple. Routine. Nothing special. She opened her locker, started the ritual. Boots off, socks, PT shirt, each item folded with mechanical precision. Creases sharp, corners square. The meditation of order. The door open. Major Garrett Brennan walked in. Behind him, Captain Morrison and Sergeant Diaz. None of them were supposed to be here. This was a mistake. Alex could feel it. The way you feel a storm coming before the first drop of rain. She kept folding, didn't look up. Maybe they'd just grab their gear and leave. They didn't leave. Brennan walked closer, stopped 6 feet away, arms crossed, the body language of someone looking for a fight. Look what we got, boys. The Navy's advisor. Alex didn't respond, just kept folding. PT pants now, precise creases. I'm talking to you, Master Chief. She stopped, looked up, met his eyes. I hear you, Major. Do you? Because I've been asking around. Nobody knows what you do here. You're not training anyone, not running missions, just taking up space. I do my job, Major. Your job. He laughed, cold, bitter. And what is your job, besides being the Navy's diversity checkbox? Behind him, Morrison shifted uncomfortably. Diaz was watching, silent. Alex's heart rate stayed steady, 62 BPM. Major, you're out of line. Out of line? Brennan stepped closer. You want to talk about lines? My father died in Iraq, March 21st, 2003. Real warriors, not whatever you are. Not some diversity hire taking up a slot real operators could use. The date hit Alex like a bullet. March 21st, 2003. Colonel Marcus Brennan. This was his son. The 7-year-old boy had grown into this angry man, and he had no idea who she was. Major, her voice was still calm, still level. There's a camera, red light, northeast corner. It's recording what you're doing right now. You think I care about a camera? His voice was rising, 20 years of grief and rage pouring out. You think I care about your feelings? You're useless. You're a relic, taking space from people who matter. He shoved her shoulder. Hard, deliberate. Alex absorbed it. Didn't stumble, didn't brace, just took the hit. The calm acceptance seemed to enrage him more. Nothing, he snarled. You've got nothing. His hand shot forward, closed around her throat. Thumbs on the trachea, fingers on the carotids, 40 pounds of pressure. Textbook. Alex's heart rate didn't change. 62 BPM. Behind Brennan, Morrison's eyes went wide. Tank. But Alex was already moving. Her left hand cupped Brennan's right elbow. Control point. Her right hand found the pressure point on his left wrist. Radial nerve. Exquisite pain if you knew where to press. She pressed. Her hips pivoted. 17 degrees, just enough. His forward momentum became his enemy. She redirected, guided, let physics do the work. Brennan stumbled. His grip loosened. His own body betrayed him. He hit locker number 7 with a metallic clang that echoed off concrete walls. Total time, 2.3 seconds. Alex adjusted her collar, picked up her duffel bag, walked to the door. She didn't say a word, not one. The door hissed shut behind her. In the changing room, three men stood in stunned silence, Brennan on his knees, gasping, confusion and rage, and the first cold finger of fear touching the base of his spine. Morrison staring at Alex's retreating form with something like horror in his eyes. Diaz frozen, processing what he'd just witnessed. Finally, Brennan spoke. His voice was hoarse. "What the fuck was that?" Morrison swallowed hard. "Tank, that wasn't normal. That was... She attacked me." Brennan stood, unsteady. "You both saw it. She attacked me. So, Tank, you both saw it. We're filing a report right now." Diaz found his voice. "What about the camera?" "I don't care about the camera. It's three of us against one. They'll believe us." But Morrison was still staring at the door because he'd seen Alex's eyes during those 2.3 seconds. No fear, no anger, no emotion at all. Just cold, professional, practiced. The eyes of someone who'd done that exact move 1,000 times before, in places where mistakes meant death. "Yeah," Morrison said quietly. "Sure, Tank. They'll believe us." But he didn't sound convinced, not even a little bit. The rumor started before breakfast. By 0600 hours, half the base knew that something had happened in changing room B7. The details were vague, contradictory. The fog of war applied to gossip just as much as combat, but the general shape of the story was clear. Master Chief Kane had snapped, lost it, attacked Major Brennan without provocation. Unstable woman, menopausal rage. The diversity hire finally showing her true colors. Alex heard the whispers in the chow hall. She sat alone at her corner table. Back to the wall, oatmeal cooling in front of her, coffee going cold. 3 tables over, a group of young rangers were talking. Not quite loud enough to be confrontational, but loud enough to be heard. "I heard she just went crazy, started screaming." Brennan had to defend himself, put her down. "Navy's probably gonna cover it up. You know how they protect their diversity hires. She shouldn't even be here. This is a ranger base." Alex took a bite of oatmeal, chewed, swallowed, took a sip of coffee. Her heart rate was 61 beats per minute, 1 beat slower than yesterday. Calm. Across the room, Morrison sat with Diaz. Both men were quiet, not participating in the gossip, but not stopping it either. Morrison's eyes found Alex, held for a moment. He looked away first. Guilty conscience, she thought. Good. That means he's still human. She finished her breakfast, cleaned her tray, walked out. The whispers followed her. They always did. The morning passed in routine, security assessments, vulnerability testing, the work JSOC had actually sent her to do. At 1100 hours, she got the notification. Email, official, Lieutenant Colonel Hartwell, JAG office, subject formal inquiry, incident report required. Body Master Chief Kane, you are hereby notified that a formal complaint has been filed against you, alleging assault and conduct unbecoming. You are required to submit a written statement within 24 hours. Report to my office at 1400 hours today for initial interview. Alex read it twice, then opened her laptop, pulled up the incident report she'd filed at 1710 hours yesterday. 27 minutes after the assault, 19 hours before Brennan's complaint. The timeline told its own story. She forwarded her report to Hartwell, added a single line. My statement was filed at 1710 Zulu 26 February. All relevant facts are contained therein. I have nothing further to add. Then she went back to work. At 1330 hours, her door opened without knocking. Command Sergeant Major Frank Hayes stood in the doorway. His face was carved from granite. His eyes were cold fire. Alex, we need to talk. She saved her work, closed the laptop. Come in, Gunny. He closed the door, sat down across from her. For a long moment, he just looked at her, reading her the way only someone who'd known you for 22 years could. You okay? I'm fine. That's not what I asked. I asked if you're okay. Alex considered the question. Really considered it. I've been worse, Gunny. I heard the story Brennan's telling. It's bullshit. Yes. You file a report. 10 hours yesterday, before he even thought about making up his version. Hayes nodded slowly. Smart. You mentioned the camera. I mentioned everything. Facts only. No emotion, no accusations, just what happened. That's my girl, them. He leaned back. The chair creaked under his weight. But facts don't always matter, Alex. Not when it's 3 against 1. Not when the 3 are Rangers with combat records and the one is a Navy advisor nobody knows. Then the facts will have to speak louder. You got faith in the system. I got faith that Lieutenant Colonel Hartwell will do his job. Review the evidence, make the right call. And if he doesn't, Alex met his eyes, then I'll handle it another way. Hayes studied her, seeing something that made him uncomfortable. Alex, don't do anything stupid. You're too close to being done. 18 months. Don't throw it away on these kids. I'm not throwing anything away, Gunny. I'm trusting the system to work. If it doesn't work, that's not on me. That's on the system. Philosophical as hell. Your husband teach you that? Jake taught me a lot of things, including when to fight and when to let the machinery do its job. Hayes stood, walked to the door, stopped, turned back. You know what I see when I look at you? What, Gunny? I see that 20-year-old kid who showed up to Bud scared out of her mind but too stubborn to quit. I see the operator who saved my ass in Kandahar when things went sideways. I see the woman who's lost more than most people will ever have and keeps getting up anyway. He paused. I see someone who's earned the right to peace. Don't let these punks take that from you. I won't. After he left, Alex sat in silence, thinking about peace, about what it meant, whether she'd ever find it. The answer wasn't clear. It never was. At 1400 hours, she reported to Hartwell's office. Lieutenant Colonel James Hartwell was 45 years old, former prosecutor, current JAG officer, the kind of lawyer who believed in process the way priests believed in God. His office was exactly what you'd expect. Books on military law, diplomas on the wall, a photograph of him in dress blues receiving some award or another. And one photograph that didn't fit. A young woman in Army uniform, captain's bars, bright smile, Hartwell's eyes, his sister Alex guessed, and something had happened to her, something that still hurt. Master Chief Kane, sit. She sat. Hartwell had 3 screens in front of him. Documents, reports, the digital machinery of military justice grinding through its gears. I've read Major Brennan's complaint. I've read your incident report. They tell very different stories. Yes, sir. His complaint was filed at 0820 hours this morning. Your report was filed at 1710 hours yesterday, 19 hours earlier. Yes, sir. Why ufating? Because that's when the incident occurred, sir, and regulations require immediate reporting of any assault. You consider what happened an assault. Major Brennan placed his hands around my throat with sufficient force to restrict breathing and blood flow. That meets the definition of aggravated assault under Article 128 UCMJ. Yes, sir. I consider it an assault. Hartwell's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes, a lawyer recognizing precision when he heard it. Major Brennan claims you attacked him first. That is incorrect, sir. Can you prove it? Yes, sir. Security camera B701, northeast corner of the changing room. Records continuously to server NKDVR07. Timestamp 1647 to 1651 Zulu. The footage will corroborate my account exactly. Hartwell typed something, made a note. You're very certain about these details. I'm trained to observe and document, sir. It's what I do. For the Navy. Yes, sir. As a technical advisor. Alex held his gaze, said nothing. Hartwell leaned back. Master Chief, I'm going to be frank with you. Your service record is the most redacted document I've seen in 15 years as a JAG officer. Whatever you really do for the Navy, it's not technical advisory work. My orders say otherwise, sir. Your orders are a cover story. We both know it. But that's not my concern right now. My concern is determining what happened in that changing room and whether charges should be filed. I understand, sir. I'm going to request that security footage. I'm going to review it. And then I'm going to make a decision based on evidence, not on rank, not on service branch, not on gender. Osvidence, are we clear? Crystal clear, sir. Dismissed, Master Chief. Alex stood, saluted, turned to go. Kane, she stopped. That photograph, my sister, Captain Kelly Hartwell, She was assaulted by her commanding officer in 2015. She filed a report. It got buried. She got pushed out, medically retired with PTSD. His voice was quiet, controlled, but underneath was molten steel. I became a JAG officer because of what happened to her, because I believe the system should work, should protect people, should deliver justice regardless of politics or rank or friendship. He looked up at her. I will review the evidence. I will make the right call. I promise you that. Alex nodded once. Thank you, sir. Outside his office, she allowed herself one long breath. The system was working. Maybe. The base-wide announcement came at 1600 hours. Mandatory qualification advanced combat dive course, 1400 hours tomorrow. All personnel E7 and above. No exceptions. Report to deep dive facility with a full kit. Alex read the notice on her phone, dive qualification. She hadn't done one of those in 3 years, not since her last pre-deployment workup with Red Squadron. Her body remembered, though. Muscle memory didn't fade. It just waited. That evening, she pulled her dive gear from the bottom of her footlocker. Draeger LAR-5 rebreather. The Cadillac of combat diving equipment. No bubbles, no noise. The tool of underwater infiltrators who needed to be invisible. She checked every seal, every valve, every connection. Maintenance ritual, meditation through mechanical precision. Behind her, the photograph of Jake watched silently. Still got it, baby, she whispered. Still got it. The next morning came cold and clear. The deep dive facility was a testament to military excess and necessity in equal measure. Olympic-sized pool, 25 meters deep, temperature controlled to 58 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to induce hypothermia, warm enough not to kill you immediately. The bottom half of the pool was a maze. Pipes, tunnels, obstacles. A simulated ship interior for practicing the kinds of infiltration most people didn't know SEALs did, because most people didn't need to know. Around the pool deck, 40 soldiers in dive gear waited their turn. At the control station, Command Sergeant Major Hayes stood with a clipboard and a stopwatch, and the expression of a man who'd seen 1,000 divers and wasn't impressed by any of them. Until they impressed him. The evolution was simple in concept, brutal in execution. Navigate 200 meters of underwater maze in pitch darkness. Disarm a magnetic training mine. Retrieve a 40-pound weight from a flooded compartment. Do it all in under 20 minutes without panicking, dying, or quitting. Most people failed at least one of those requirements. Brennan's team went first. Diaz entered the water with enthusiasm and poor technique. Too much splashing, too much wasted energy. Hayes watched the monitor, showing Diaz's helmet camera, shook his head. At the 15-meter mark, Diaz hit the tunnel section. Pitch black, tight, claustrophobic. His breathing rate spiked, visible on the vital signs monitor. Heart rate jumping from 90 beats per minute to 145. Panic breathing. At 11 minutes, he surfaced. Failure. Hayes marked it down. Uncontrolled. Next. Morrison went next. Better technique. Controlled breathing. He made it through the tunnel, reached the mine. The mine was a complex mechanism. 12 steps to disarm. Do them wrong and it locks. Do them right and you had a green light. Morrison fumbled. His cold fingers refused to cooperate. The visibility was maybe 6 inches. He was working by feel, by memory, by hope. 5 minutes, 47 seconds later, green light. He retrieved the weight, surfaced. Total time, at 18 minutes, 12 seconds. Hayes nodded. Functional, barely. Brennan was last of his team. He dove with confidence. Former Ranger, multiple deployments. This wasn't his first time underwater in full kit. He powered through the tunnel. Not elegant, but effective. Brute force and determination. The mine took him 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Aggressive approach, no finesse. But it worked. He retrieved the weight. Surfaced. 16 minutes, 54 seconds. Not bad, not great, but passing. Brennan pulled off his mask, looked at Hayes. Beat that. Hayes just stared at him. The look of a man who'd forgotten more about diving than Brennan would ever learn. We'll see, Major. The morning dragged, diver after diver, times ranging from 15 minutes to outright failures. By 1200 hours, Brennan still had the best time. He was sitting on the pool deck, holding court, his rangers around him, confident, validated. Nobody's beating that time, he said. 16:54. That's damn good. Morrison was quiet. He'd been quiet all morning, his mind somewhere else. Finally, at 12:45 hours, Hayes called the last name on his list. Master Chief Kane, you're up. Alex walked to the pool edge. Her gear was already checked. Rebreather, mask, fins. The weight belt that brought her total carry to 68 pounds. Around the pool, conversation stopped. Everyone wanted to see this. The crazy female Master Chief who'd supposedly attacked Major Brennan, the diversity hire, the relic. Let's see if she can even make it through the course. Brennan was watching, arms crossed, that smirk on his face. The look of someone waiting for validation. Alex ignored him, ignored all of them. She closed her eyes. 4 seconds in, 7 seconds hold, 8 seconds out. Breath control, heart rate dropping, 62, 61 T, 60, 58 beats per minute. Hayes walked over, stood close, spoke quietly so only she could hear. Remember Coronado, Alex, you and me. What did I teach you? Water is a friend, Gunny, not an enemy. Show them. She opened her eyes, put in her mouthpiece, checked her mask seal one last time. Then she stepped off the platform. The entry was textbook perfect. Minimal splash, body knife straight, slicing into the water like it was made for her. She disappeared beneath the surface. In the control room, Hayes watched the monitor. Her helmet camera showed the underwater maze appearing in low-light monochrome. Her breathing was visible in the rebreather cycle, slow, controlled, rhythmic as a heartbeat. She entered the tunnel system. Most divers fought the tunnel, pushed through it, made it an adversary. Alex flowed through it. Her body positioning was horizontal, perfectly streamlined, minimal drag. She used only her fingertips on the walls, reading the space like Braille. No wasted contact, no unnecessary friction. Hayes leaned closer to the screen. That technique, he'd seen it before, 20 years ago, when he'd taught advanced underwater infiltration to a DevGru class that had started with 16 students and graduated 3. Fingerwalk navigation, the most advanced technique in combat diving. No, he whispered. It can't be. But it was. On the monitor, Alex reached the mine in 6 minutes 30 seconds. Her hands moved over the mechanism with surgical precision. Step 1, Step 2, 3 through 12 without hesitation, without fumbling. 73 seconds start to finish. Hayes' jaw dropped. Morrison had taken 5 minutes 47 seconds. Brennan had taken 3 minutes 30. Alex had just done it in 1 minute 13. That wasn't training. That was a muscle memory. Years of practice. Combat repetitions in environments where mistakes meant death. She moved to the flooded compartment. The final test, vertical shaft, 1.2 meters diameter, 8 meters deep. Total darkness, tight enough to trigger claustrophobia in anyone with sense. Alex inverted, pulled herself down hand over hand. Her breathing stayed controlled. Her heart rate on the monitor was 64 beats per minute, slower than most people's resting rate. She secured the weight, started back up. Halfway up, the weight shifted, caught on her harness, jammed against the shaft wall. A complication, unplanned, the kind of thing that could trigger panic. Alex stopped, didn't fight it, problem solved. She rotated the weight 45 degrees, cleared the obstruction, continued upward. She surfaced at the far end of the pool. Hayes clicked his stopwatch. 9 minutes, 47 seconds. The observation deck was silent. Brennan had done 16 minutes, 54 seconds. Alex had just beaten him by 7 minutes and 7 seconds. She'd used 31% of her air supply. Brennan had used 91%. She climbed out of the pool, removed her gear with the same methodical precision she did everything. No celebration, no acknowledgement, just routine. Hayes walked over. His face was unreadable. 9:47, he said quietly, with a complication. Jesus Christ, Alex. It's just water, Gunny. No. His voice dropped to a whisper only she could hear. That was DevGru. That was Red Squadron. That was the real deal. Alex met his eyes, said nothing. Hayes looked at the assembled soldiers, raised his voice. Master Chief Kane, outstanding performance. Best dive time in this facility's history. Congratulations. The silence continued for another beat. Then a senior NCO in the back started clapping. Slowly at first, then others joined. The sound building, not enthusiastic, not quite accepting, but acknowledging. They'd seen something they couldn't deny. On the deck, Brennan sat frozen. His face had gone pale. That smirk was gone. Morrison was staring at Alex with something like horror in his eyes, because he understood now. What he'd seen in the changing room hadn't been lucky. It had been professional. This woman wasn't some washed-up advisor. She was something else entirely. Something dangerous. Something they'd just made a terrible mistake antagonizing. Alex walked past them without a word. She had work to do. Hayes watched her go, then pulled out his phone, dialed a number he had memorized. Lieutenant Colonel Hartwell, it's CSM Hayes. We need to talk. About Master Chief Kane, about who she really is, and about what those Rangers just stepped in. At 1600 hours, Hartwell sat alone in his office. On his screen, the security footage from Changing Room B7 played for the third time. Timestamp 1647-15 Zulu. Alex alone, folding uniform. Timestamp 1647-42. Brennan Morrison Diaz enter. Timestamp 1648-10. Verbal confrontation. Audio clear enough to make out words. Timestamp 1648-47. Alex's voice, calm. Warning. Major, there's a camera. Timestamp 1649-03. Brennan's hands around her throat. Timestamp 1649-05-3. Counter movement. Almost too fast to track. Brennan redirected into the locker. Timestamp 1650-12. Alex exits, no words. Hartwell rewound, watched again. Frame by frame this time. The assault was clear, unambiguous. Brennan had committed aggravated assault, on camera, after being warned. The response was even more interesting. 2.3 seconds. No panic, no excess force, just mechanical precision. The movements of someone who'd done that exact technique 1,000 times in combat, where mistakes meant death. Hartwell made notes, then pulled up the conflicting reports. Brennan's complaint, filed 0820 hours, claimed Alex attacked first, claimed self-defense, claimed 3 witnesses. Alex's report filed 1710 hours previous day, 19 hours earlier. Clinical language, no emotion, just facts. The timeline told the story. Alex had documented the assault immediately, before Brennan had even thought to lie about it. That meant she'd known, had anticipated the false complaint, had protected herself with procedure and evidence. That wasn't lucky. That was experience. Hartwell picked up his desk phone, dialed General Mitchell's office. Sir, it's Hartwell. I need authorization to unseal a classified personnel file. Master Chief Alexandra Kane. Service number. Yes, sir. I'll hold. He waited. Outside his window, the sun was setting, painting the desert in shades of rust and gold. The authorization came through. Hartwell's computer pinged. New file. Downloading. 87 pages. 90% redacted. But what wasn't redacted told a story. Personnel file. Classified top secret SCI. Name Kane Alexandra Marie. Rank Master Chief Petty Officer E9. Service United States Navy. Unit Naval Special Warfare Development Group. DevGru. The words jumped off the screen. Hartwell sat back, took a breath. DevGru, the Naval Special Warfare Development Group. SEAL Team 6 in popular culture. The unit that didn't officially exist. The operators who did the missions nobody talked about. He kept reading. Operational call sign Reaper. Service dates 2000 to 2021. 21 years. Qualifications, Bud ES Class 234, graduated 2001. First female graduate. DevGru selection 2003. Youngest female operator age 22. Advanced sniper course. Graduated number 1. Combat dive supervisor. High altitude, low opening certified. Language qualified, redacted. Operational deployments, Afghanistan 7 tours. Iraq 4 tours. Somalia 2 tours. Redacted 42 countries total. Combat record direct action missions 200 plus. Confirmed kills 187. Hartwell stopped reading, reread that line. 187 confirmed kills. Navy record for female operators. The woman Brennan had choked had killed 187 enemy combatants. Hartwell felt something cold settle in his stomach. He kept reading. Notable operations redacted, redacted, redacted. But one operation wasn't fully redacted. Operation Iraqi Freedom, March 21st, 2003. Fire Team Bravo 7. Team Lead Gunnery Sergeant Frank Hayes. Sniper Petty Officer Alexandra Kane, age 22. Attached Army Colonel Marcus Brennan. Forward Air Controller. Mission Overwatch Marine Convoy Protection, Southern Iraq near Basra. Outcome objective achieved. Multiple enemy KIA. One U.S. KIA Colonel Marcus Brennan. After action notes. Colonel Brennan suffered catastrophic injury from enemy indirect fire. Petty Officer Kane administered combat first aid and evacuated casualty 200 meters under enemy fire, while Gunnery Sergeant Hayes provided covering fire. Colonel Brennan expired in medevac helicopter due to blood loss. Petty Officer Kane performed all actions per protocol. No fault assigned. Recommended for Bronze Star, downgraded to Navy Commendation due to age and rank. Addendum medevac crew recorded Colonel Brennan's last words: "Tell my son Garrett I was proud. Tell him I died doing my job." Hartwell stopped breathing. Marcus Brennan, Major Garrett Brennan's father. Alexandra Kane had tried to save Garrett Brennan's father 20 years ago when she was 22 years old on her first combat mission, and Garrett had just assaulted the woman who'd carried his father's body through enemy fire. "My God," Hartwell whispered. He reached for his phone, started to dial Mitchell, then stopped. There was a knock on his door. "Come." Captain Ryan Morrison entered. He looked terrible. Circles under his eyes, jaw tight, the expression of a man at war with himself. "Sir, I need to amend my statement. I need to tell the truth." Hartwell gestured to the chair. "Sit down, Captain." Morrison sat, took a breath, let it out slow. "We lied, sir, all of us. Master Chief Kane didn't attack anyone. Major Brennan choked her. We watched, then we made up a story to cover it." "Why come forward now?" "Because she saved my life today, sir." Morrison's voice cracked. "I was drowning. My rebreather failed. I was going to die. She abandoned her course, swam to me, shared her air, calmed me down, got me to safety." He looked up. "After what we did to her, after we tried to destroy her career, she still saved me." "That took courage, Captain." Coming forward. "No, sir. What took courage was what she did. I'm just trying to be half the man my father raised me to be." Hartwell nodded slowly, made notes. "Your amended statement is on record. You understand that it will affect your career." "I know, sir. I'm prepared for that." "Dismissed, Captain." Morrison stood, saluted, started to leave. Morrison. "Sir, for what it's worth, your father would be proud." After Morrison left, Hartwell sat in the gathering darkness. He had the evidence now, all of it: security footage, dive performance, Hayes' testimony, Morrison's confession, Alex's service record. The picture was complete. 3 soldiers had assaulted one of the most decorated special operators in JSOC history, then lied about it, then watched her save one of their lives anyway. Tomorrow there would be a reckoning. Hartwell picked up his phone, called Mitchell with Tamanu. "Sir, we need to convene a captain's mast, immediately. I have the evidence. And sir, you're going to want to see this." That night, Alex sat in her quarters. The maintenance ritual was complete. Gear cleaned, uniform pressed, rifle serviced. Now she sat with her notebook. The leather worn soft, the inside cover marked with 187 notches. She pulled out her pen, made one more mark. Number 188, not for a kill, for a save. Morrison would live, would learn, would become better. That counted for something. She closed the notebook, looked at Jake's photograph. Still getting them home, baby, one way or another. Outside her window, the desert night was cool and clear. Stars overhead, millions of them, indifferent to human drama, indifferent to justice or injustice. Just burning, eternal. Somewhere on this base, Brennan was lying awake, wondering, worrying, starting to understand that he'd made a mistake. Somewhere Morrison was writing a letter to his father, explaining, apologizing, asking for guidance. Somewhere Hayes was looking at old photographs, remembering operators who'd worn the trident, who'd earned it the hard way, who'd become legends without needing to tell anyone. And in his office, Hartwell was preparing the case that would change everything. Alex turned off her light, lay down in her bunk. Tomorrow would come soon enough. Tomorrow the truth would have its day. Tonight she just needed rest. The kind of rest that came from knowing you'd done your job, lived your values, kept your promises, even when nobody was watching, even when it would have been easier to walk away. Her eyes closed, heart rate dropping, 60 beats per minute, 58, 56, the rhythm of a warrior at peace, at least for tonight. The command briefing room at 0800 hours was cold, not temperature. The air conditioning worked fine. This was a different kind of cold. The institutional chill of military justice preparing to pass judgment. The room was arranged in a U-shape, formal, deliberate, every detail calibrated for maximum psychological impact. At the head of the table sat Brigadier General Robert Mitchell, 58 years old, Gulf War veteran, a man whose face had been weathered by 37 years of command decisions. Some right, some wrong, all his to carry. To his right, Lieutenant Colonel James Hartwell, JAG officer, prosecutor today, the man who believed in process the way some men believed in God. To his left, Command Sergeant Major Frank Hayes, witness, observer, the old warrior who'd seen enough bullshit in 42 years to know it when he smelled it. On one side of the U sat three men in Class A uniforms. Major Garrett Brennan, 37 years old. Ranger, his jaw tight, eyes forward, the posture of a man preparing for combat. Captain Ryan Morrison, 35, Bronze Star, his hands folded in his lap, head slightly bowed, guilty conscience visible in every line of his body. Sergeant Luis Diaz, 33, weapons specialist, looking straight ahead, trying to be invisible, failing. Opposite them sat Master Chief Alexandra Kane, service dress blues. The formal uniform she'd worn maybe 5 times in 23 years, each time for something significant. Promotion ceremonies, awards, funerals. Today it was judgment. The uniform fit perfectly, tailored, professional, but it was the ribbons that told the story. Top row, Silver Star with 1 gold star device. 2 awards, Afghanistan 2009, Syria 2015. Second row, Bronze Star with Valor. 5 bronze oak leaf clusters. 5 awards. 5 separate actions where she'd performed above and beyond under enemy fire. Third row, Purple Heart with 1 bronze oak leaf cluster. 2 awards, wounded twice. Continued mission both times. The rows continued. Campaign medals, service ribbons, unit citations, the accumulated weight of 21 years spent in places most Americans couldn't find on a map. 27 ribbons total. Brennan had 11. The visual contrast was devastating. Mitchell let the silence build. Old commander's trick, let the tension do the work. Let the participants understand the gravity of what was about to happen. Finally, he spoke. This is a captain's mast. Non-judicial hearing under Article 15 Uniform Code of Military Justice. The proceedings are formal. They are recorded. They will determine whether criminal charges are filed under the UCMJ. His eyes moved to Brennan. Major Garrett Brennan, you stand accused of assault under Article 128, false official statements under Article 107, conduct unbecoming an officer under Article 134. How do you plead? Brennan stood, rigid. Not guilty, sir. I acted in self-defense against an unprovoked attack. Noted, Mitchell gestured. Sit. Lieutenant Colonel Hartwell, present your evidence. Hartwell stood, activated the large view screen on the wall. Sir, on February 26th at 8:20 hours, my office received a formal complaint from Major Brennan corroborated by Captain Morrison and Sergeant Diaz. The complaint alleged that Master Chief Kane attacked Major Brennan without provocation in changing room B7. The screen displayed the complaint. Official, detailed, 3 signatures. However, Hartwell's voice was clinical, precise. Master Chief Kane had already filed an incident report at 17:10 hours the previous day, 19 hours before Major Brennan's complaint. The timeline appeared on screen. Two files, timestamps clear and unambiguous. Brennan's face tightened. Sir, one of these reports is provably false. The timeline makes that mathematically certain. Hartwell pulled up the next exhibit. I requested security footage from changing room B7. This footage is unedited, timestamp verified, retrieved directly from server NKDVR07. The lights dimmed. The video played. No sound at first. Just visuals. 16:47:15. Zulu, Alex alone, folding her uniform with mechanical precision. Each movement deliberate. Calm. 16:47:42. The door opens. Brennan enters. Morrison and Diaz behind him. Their body language aggressive. Brennan's shoulders squared. Fists clenched. 16:48:10. Verbal confrontation. Alex standing still. Brennan moving closer, invading her space. His mouth moving. Angry. 16:48:47. Alex looks directly at the camera. Points to it. Says something, clear as day, even without sound. Brennan's response is visible. Rage. Dismissal. Step closer. 16:49:03. Freeze frame. Hartwell stopped the video. Sir, I'm going to zoom on this frame. The image magnified, enhanced, crystal clear. Brennan's hands around Alex's throat. Thumbs on the trachea. Fingers on the carotids. Textbook choke position. Alex's face calm. No fear, no anger. Just observation. In the room, Morrison put his face in his hands. Diaz stared at the floor. Brennan's jaw muscles worked, but he said nothing. And with audio, Hartwell said. The video rewound, played again. This time the sound was devastating. Brennan's voice, loud, aggressive. Look what we got, boys. The Navy's advisor. Silence from Alex. The sound of fabric folding. I'm talking to you, Master Chief. Alex's voice, level, professional. I hear you, Major. The escalation was clear. Brennan's anger building, his words cutting. Nobody knows what you do here. You're not training anyone, not running missions, just taking up space. I do my job, Major. Your job. Bitter laugh. What is your job besides being the Navy's diversity checkbox? Then the critical moment. My father died in Iraq, March 21st, 2003. Real warriors, not whatever you are. A pause, then Alex's voice. Still calm, still professional, giving him a way out. Major, there's a camera, red light, northeast corner. It's recording what you're doing right now. You think I care about a camera? Brennan's voice rising. You're useless. You're a relic. The sound of the shove, then the assault. Brennan's breathing, harsh, angry, the grip tightening. 2.3 seconds of silence. Then the metallic clang of a body hitting a locker. Gasping. Confusion. Shock. The video continued. Alex adjusting her collar, picking up her bag, walking out. Not one word. The screen went dark. The silence in the room was absolute. Mitchell's face was carved from stone. Major Brennan, you told my JAG officer that Master Chief Kane attacked you without provocation. The evidence shows otherwise. Explain. Brennan opened his mouth, closed it. The blood had drained from his face. Sir, it was what Major A, misunderstanding. You misunderstood your hands around her throat. Sir, she provoked. She warned you. Mitchell's voice cut like a blade. She told you about the camera, gave you a chance to walk away. You proceeded anyway. That's not provocation, Major. That's premeditation. Hartwell pulled up the next exhibit. Sir, yesterday all parties participated in the Advanced Combat Dive qualification. The performance data is relevant to character assessment. The screen showed a comparison chart, diver performance, times, air consumption, heart rates. Diaz, 11 minutes. Failed course. Heart rate 145 BPM during panic. Morrison, 18 minutes, 12 seconds. Passed. Air consumption, 82%. Heart rate 118 p.m. Brennan 16 minutes 54 seconds. Passed. Air consumption 91%. Heart rate 101 bpm. Kane 9 minutes 47 seconds. Exceptional. Air consumption 31%. Heart rate 64 bpm. The numbers spoke for themselves. Master Chief Kane's performance was 57% faster than the next best time. Hartwell continued. She used 68% less air than Major Brennan, and she performed a mid-course rescue of Captain Morrison when his rebreather failed. Morrison stood without being asked. Sir, permission to speak? Mitchell nodded. Granted. Sir, I was drowning. My rebreather malfunctioned at 18 meters. I had maybe 90 seconds before I blacked out. His voice was steady, but his eyes were wet. Master Chief Kane saw it, abandoned her course, swam to me, shared her air, buddy breathed with me, calmed me down, got me to safety. He looked at Alex for the first time. After what we did to her, after we tried to destroy her career, she still saved my life. That's not the action of someone unstable, sir. That's the action of a professional. Sit down, Captain. Morrison sat. Mitchell looked at Hayes. Gunny, you trained Master Chief Kane. What can you tell this board? Hayes stood. At attention, every inch the Marine who'd earned his stripes in blood. Sir Alexandra Kane graduated Bud's Class 234 in 2001, first female to complete the program. I was her primary instructor. His voice was gravel and certainty. In 42 years of training special operators, I've seen 4 people dive like she did yesterday. All 4 were DevGru. All 4 were among the best warriors this nation has ever produced. He paused. Let that sink in. The techniques she used in that pool, finger walk navigation, minimal contact propulsion, extended breath hold under stress. Those are taught at Advanced Underwater Sabotage School. The course I helped design in 1985. The course with a 92% attrition rate. His eyes found Brennan. Sir, that woman has forgotten more about combat operations than most people will ever learn. If she's accused of assault, someone made a catastrophic error in judgment, and it wasn't her. Thank you, Gunny. Sit. Mitchell picked up a folder, the classified one, the one that told the real story. Major Brennan, you called Master Chief Kane a relic, useless, a diversity hire taking up space real operators could use. He opened the folder, read slowly, each word a hammer blow. Master Chief Alexandra Marie Kane, Naval Special Warfare Development Group, DevGru. Brennan's eyes went wide. Service dates, 2000 to 21, 21 years active duty. Mitchell continued reading. Clinical, devastating. Operational deployments, 11 combat tours, 42 countries, direct action missions over 200 confirmed. Combat record 187 confirmed kills. The number hung in the air, 187. More than everyone in this room combined. More than most infantry battalions. The body count of a ghost who'd spent 2 decades hunting America's enemies in places the public would never hear about. Decorations, 2 silver stars, 5 bronze stars with valor, 2 purple hearts, multiple campaign ribbons, unit citations. Mitchell looked up. Operational call sign, Reaper. The silence was crushing. Major Brennan, the woman you assaulted has served this country longer than you've been in uniform. She has more combat experience than everyone in this room combined. She's been wounded twice, shot, blown up, and she kept fighting. Mitchell's voice dropped, cold, unforgiving. The reason she's quiet is because she's seen things you can't imagine. The reason she's calm is because compared to enemy combatants in hostile territory, you are nothing. Brennan was shaking now, the reality crashing down, the understanding that he'd just destroyed his career by choking a living legend. But Mitchell wasn't done. He opened a second folder. Older. The pages yellowed with age. Major Brennan, your father was Colonel Marcus Brennan. Is that correct? Brennan's head snapped up. Sir, your father, Colonel Marcus Brennan, Army Forward Air Controller, killed in action March 21st, 2003. Operation Iraqi Freedom. Yes, sir. Brennan's voice was barely a whisper. Did you know Master Chief Kane was on that mission? The world stopped. Brennan stared. Morrison stared. Diaz stared. Alex sat perfectly still, face neutral, but something flickered in her eyes. Memory, pain, old grief. What? Brennan managed. Mitchell read from the file. Operation Iraqi Freedom. March 21st, 2003. Fire Team Bravo 7. Team Lead Gunnery Sergeant Frank Hayes. Sniper/spotter, Petty Officer Alexandra Kane, age 22. Attached Army Forward Observer, Colonel Marcus Brennan. He looked up. That was her first combat mission, Major. She was 22 years old, 2 years out of buds, barely qualified, and she was assigned to protect your father's fire team. Brennan couldn't breathe. Mitchell continued. Relentless. At 0430 hours, Colonel Brennan was struck by enemy indirect fire. Catastrophic arterial injury. Fatal wound. His voice softened. Just slightly. Petty Officer Kane applied a tourniquet, administered combat first aid. Then she dragged your father 200 meters through active enemy fire to the medevac landing zone, while Gunnery Sergeant Hayes provided covering fire. Brennan's face was white, tears forming. Your father died in the helicopter. Blood loss. But Petty Officer Kane did everything right, Major. Everything. The after-action review found no fault. She was recommended for a Bronze Star. It got downgraded to a Navy commendation because of her age and rank. Mitchell pulled out one more sheet, the oldest document, handwritten notes from a medevac crew chief. The flight crew recorded your father's last words. Do you want to know what he said? Brennan nodded, unable to speak. Mitchell read, Tell my son Garrett I was proud. Tell him I died doing my job. Tell him to be better than me. The tears fell now, Brennan's shoulders shaking, the rage, the grief, the 20 years of misdirected anger collapsing under the weight of truth. That message was delivered to your family via standard KIA notification. But the details, who tried to save him, how hard they fought, who held his hand as he died, those weren't included in the letter. Mitchell closed the folder. Major Brennan, you just assaulted the woman who tried to save your father's life, who carried his body through enemy fire, who was 22 years old and terrified and did her job anyway. The silence was complete. Then Alex spoke. For the first time since the mass began, she spoke. Her voice was quiet, controlled, but underneath was an ocean of emotion kept in check by pure discipline. Major Brennan, he looked at her, eyes red, face destroyed. Your father was a good man, a professional, the kind of soldier who inspired confidence just by being present. She paused, choosing her words carefully. When the shrapnel hit him, he didn't scream. He didn't panic. He looked at me, a 22-year-old kid who'd never seen that much blood, and he said, Stay calm, do your job. Her hands were folded in her lap, perfectly still, but her knuckles were white. I put the tourniquet on. I put pressure on the wound. Gunny Hayes and I carried him to the bird. I held his hand in the helicopter. I told him he was going to make it. I believed it. A breath. Slow. Controlled. He squeezed my hand. He looked at me, and he said those words. About you. About being proud. About dying, doing his job. Brennan was sobbing openly now. I'm sorry I couldn't save him, Garrett. I tried. God knows I tried. I think about him every March 21st. I think about what I could have done differently, what I missed, where I failed. She leaned forward slightly. But your father didn't die because of incompetence. He died because war is ugly and random and cruel. He died protecting Marines. That's honorable. That's worthy. That's what he chose. Her voice hardened, just a fraction. You want to honor him, stop trying to be him. Be the man he wanted you to become. Be the officer who brings his soldiers home. All of them, even the ones who don't look like you, even the ones you don't understand. She sat back. That's what your father would have wanted. The room was silent. Mitchell let it sit, let Brennan process, let the truth do its work. Finally, he spoke. Major Garrett Brennan, you are found guilty of assault under Article 128, false official statement under Article 107, conducted unbecoming an officer under Article 134. Brennan stood, swaying slightly. Normally, I would reduce you to private, transfer you to disciplinary barracks, end your career in disgrace. A pause. However, your father's service record is exemplary. Your own combat record while not approaching Master Chief Kane's is solid, and she has asked for leniency. Brennan looked at Alex, shocked. Mitchell continued, I'm offering you a choice. Choice 1, accept reduction in rank to captain. 60 days restriction, transfer to a staff position. Your career continues, but you will never command troops again. He let that sink in. Choice 2, accept reduction to captain. Request immediate transfer to a forward deployed combat unit. Afghanistan, Iraq. Wherever we need experienced officers who understand what they did wrong and want to make it right. Mitchell's eyes bored into Brennan. You deploy, you lead, you bring your people home. You prove that your father's sacrifice meant something, that his son learned what matters. Brennan straightened, found his voice. Sir, I request combat deployment. I need to earn back my name. His name. Mitchell nodded. Granted, you deploy in 30 days. And Captain and Brennan, when you're out there, remember what your father taught you. Remember what Master Chief Kane just showed you. Bring your people home. All of them. Yes, sir. Captain Morrison, you are found guilty of false official statement under Article 107. However, you came forward voluntarily, amended your statement, took responsibility. That shows integrity. Morrison stood. Reduction to first lieutenant, 30 days restriction. Sentence suspended. You're assigned to Master Chief Kane's technical team. Learn from her. Become the officer you are capable of being. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sergeant Diaz, you are found guilty of false official statement. Reduction to staff sergeant. 60 days restriction. Dismissed. Mitchell looked at Alex. Master Chief Kane, you demonstrated exceptional professionalism under assault. Your conduct reflects great credit upon yourself in the naval service. This board finds no fault with your actions. You are commended. He paused. And on behalf of the United States military, I apologize that you were put in this position. You deserve better. Alex stood, saluted. Thank you, sir. Dismissed, all of you. The room emptied slowly. In the hallway outside, Brennan stopped Alex. Chief, can I ask you something? She turned, waited. My father, in those last minutes, was he in pain? Alex considered the question. The truth. What would help versus what would hurt? The morphine helped, she said quietly. But yes, he was in pain. He bore it well, like a soldier. Like a father who wanted his son to be proud of how he faced the end. Did he say anything else? Anything I should know? Another pause. Another decision. He talked about you, the whole helicopter ride. Even when he was fading, he kept saying your name. Garrett. My boy. My Garrett. She met his eyes. He said you were 17, that you played baseball, that you wanted to follow him into the Army. He said he hoped you'd choose a different path, something safer. But he knew you wouldn't, because you were stubborn like him. Brennan smiled through tears. I was 17. I did play baseball. I did join the Army. He knew you would. He was proud anyway. Scared, but proud. Thank you, Chief, for telling me, for trying to save him, for not hating me after what I did. Alex studied him. This broken man, this son trying to fill his father's boots. Captain Brennan, your father died 20 years ago. You've been carrying his ghost ever since. It's time to let him rest. Honor him by living, not by trying to become him. I don't know how. You start by deploying, by leading, by bringing your team home alive. That's how. She walked away. Behind her, Brennan stood alone in the hallway, crying, grieving, finally beginning to heal. That afternoon, the entire base assembled for formation, 800 soldiers on the parade ground. The sun beating down, temperature 106, standard for February in the Mojave. General Mitchell stood at the podium, Alex at attention behind him. Tradition, honored personnel on display. Mitchell didn't use notes. Yesterday, this command held a captain's mast. 3 soldiers were found guilty of assault and false statements against a senior NCO. His voice carried across the silent formation. I want to be crystal clear about something. This unit is a family, but families have standards, and our standard is excellence. He let that word hang. We do not prey on our own. We do not mistake quiet competence for weakness. We do not assume that because someone doesn't brag, they have nothing to be proud of. He gestured to Alex. Master Chief Alexandra Kane has served this nation for 21 years. She's deployed to more countries than most of you can name. She's seen combat you can't imagine. She's saved lives you'll never hear about. The formation was motionless, listening. Yesterday, she saved one of her accusers from drowning. After what he'd done to her, that's not weakness, that's strength, that's leadership, that's what we aspire to. He paused, let it sink in. That is the standard. A senior NCO in the front rank began to clap, slow, deliberate. Others joined, the sound building, spreading through the formation like fire through dry grass, not enthusiastic, not quite welcoming, but acknowledging. They'd seen the evidence. They knew the truth. Alex stood at attention, eyes forward, but they glistened in the harsh sunlight. After the formation, she walked to the equipment building, alone, needing space. Hayes found her there, sitting on a bench, staring at her hands. Alex, she looked up. Gunny. He sat beside her, said nothing for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled out something wrapped in cloth. This is yours. Has been for 20 years. I just didn't know where you were to give it back. She unwrapped it. A unit patch. Black circle. Silver phoenix rising. Wings forming an antenna array. Latin inscription Fidelis Silentio. Faithful in silence. Red Squadron. Devgru. The unit she'd bled for. Killed for. Lost Jake for. Gunny, I can't. You can. You never stopped being one of us, Alex. You just went on a different mission for a while. Raising Sarah, healing, finding yourself again. He stood, looked down at her. Your war's not over. It's just changing. From bullets to teaching, from taking life to preserving it. That's evolution, not weakness. He saluted, sharp, perfect, the respect of one warrior for another. She stood, returned it. After he left, Alex attached the patch to her uniform. 20 years gone, but still hers, still earned, still real. 3 weeks later, there was a knock on her door at 1900 hours. Alex opened it. Standing there was a young woman in civilian clothes. 20 years old, lean, strong, with Alex's eyes and Jake's smile. Sarah, her daughter, grinning. Surprise, Mom. Holiday Liberty. I came to see you. Alex pulled her into a hug, held her, felt the tears come, didn't fight them. Baby girl, you're supposed to be at West Point. I am. They gave us 72 hours. I took a bus. Here I am. They sat in Alex's small room, talked, caught up, the conversation of mother and daughter who'd been apart too long. So, Sarah said eventually, Sergeant Major Hayes called me, told me what happened, the assault, the trial, everything. Alex stiffened. Gunny talks too much. No, he talks exactly enough. Sarah's voice was firm. Mom, why didn't you tell me about Devgru? About what you really did, about the missions, the kills, all of it. Because I didn't want you to think you had to follow me. I left so you wouldn't feel pressured to what? Be like you, Mom. I want to be like you. Not because you're dangerous, because you're good. Sarah leaned forward. You save people. You tell the truth. You show mercy even when people don't deserve it. That's what I want to learn. Not the shooting, not the killing, the integrity. Alex felt something break inside. The wall she'd built, the distance she'd maintained, the protection she'd thought Sarah needed. Sarah, this life, it cost me everything. Your father, my health, pieces of my soul I'll never get back. I know, and you did it anyway, because it mattered, because someone had to, because you were capable. Sarah took her mother's hands. I'm not you, Mom. I won't be you, but I can learn from you, from what you did right, from what you'd do differently, from all of it. Alex pulled her daughter close, let the tears fall, for Jake, for the lost years, for the weight finally shared. Your father would be so proud of you. He'd be proud of you too, Mom, for coming back, for finishing what you started, for still being the person who saves drowning soldiers even after they hurt you. They sat like that, mother and daughter, warrior and heir, past and future. Finally, Alex stood, went to her footlocker, pulled out something wrapped in cloth, Jake's combat knife, inscribed, "Get everyone home." Your father gave this to me on our wedding day. He carried it for 10 years. It saved his life twice. She held it out. Now it's yours. Sarah took it, reverent, understanding the weight of what was being passed. Mom, this is Dad's, and now it's yours because the mission continues, not through me, through you, through every person you lead, every soldier you inspire, every life you protect. Sarah's fingers traced the inscription. Get everyone home. What if I can't? What if I fail like you think you failed with that colonel? Alex cupped her daughter's face. Baby girl, you're a Kane. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to show up, do the work, make the hard calls, and when we fail, we own it. Learn from it, get better. She smiled, tired but real. That's all anyone can ask. 6 months later, Alex's quarters were mostly packed. Her 18 months were almost up. 2 more weeks, then terminal leave, then civilian life, teaching scuba diving in the Florida Keys. Sarah visiting on holidays, a small house near the water. Peace, if such a thing existed for people like her. She was folding uniforms when the email came. From CPT Garrett Brennan. Subject, thank you. Body Chief Kane, 6 months in Afghanistan. My team is intact, all present, all accounted for. We had contact last week. Ambush, bad terrain. I remembered what you said. What my father would have wanted. I got my people out. Everyone home. Thank you for showing me what that means. GB, Alex read it twice, then saved it to a folder labeled Worth It. Another email, this one from Morrison. Chief, finish my rotation with your technical team. Learned more in 6 months than 4 years at West Point. Requesting assignment to Naval Special Warfare Liaison. Want to keep working with professionals. Thank you. Respectfully, 1L tier. Morrison, she smiled, replied, request approved. You'll do fine. The retirement ceremony was small, just Hayes, Mitchell, Hartwell, a few others who'd earned the right to be there. Mitchell pinned the Navy Cross on her chest, the one they'd recommended in 2015, the one that had taken 8 years to approve. Better late than never, he said. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Hayes hugged her afterward, tight, the embrace of a father who'd watched his daughter grow into someone extraordinary. Proud of you, kid, always have been. Couldn't have done it without you, Gunny. Bullshit. You did it all yourself. I just gave you the tools. That night in her quarters, for the last time, Alex opened her notebook. The worn leather cover, the 188 notches inside. She added one more entry. Mission log. Final entry. They called me useless. A relic. A diversity hire. They were wrong. I wasn't useless. I was waiting for the mission that mattered. Not the mission to kill. The mission to teach. To show mercy. To prove that strength isn't about violence. It's about choosing not to use it. I came back to finish my time, to earn my pension, to be near Sarah. But I stayed for something else. To show one broken soldier that his father would be proud. To show one drowning man that enemies can become brothers. To show one young woman that she can be both strong and kind. 21 years ago, Gunny Hayes told me, get everyone home. I thought he meant from combat. Now I know he meant from darkness. Captain Brennan is home, finding his father's honor. Lieutenant Morrison is home, finding his courage. Sarah is home, finding her purpose. And me, I'm finally home too. Mission complete. Legacy secured. The Reaper can rest. Master Chief Alexandra Kane, U.S. read, get everyone home. She closed the notebook, set it beside Jake's photo, Sarah's graduation picture, the Phoenix patch. Outside, the desert night was cool and clear. Stars overhead, millions of them eternal. Tomorrow she'd drive away from FOB Ironside, away from the uniform, away from the war, towards something quieter, gentler, earned. She turned off the light, Lay down one last time in a military bunk. Heart rate dropping. 58 beats per minute. 56. 54. The rhythm of a warrior at peace. Finally, truly, at last.